That's bad.
Alright, things are looking a little different in the shop here today. Yeah, got the old Fox body all back together and she moves around, so we got her out and now it's time to get back to work on the box. I know, a surprising amount of you guys were curious why this car has been sitting outside the shop for a while now. And like everything else, just been waiting on parts. And don't worry about it, you'll see all this in an upcoming video. Not sure when, but I'm going to try to condense it all down to one video. But today is Fiero day again. So, going to get the wastegate welded on and hopefully make the dump pipe for that. So I went over it a little bit in the last video, but I'll do it again. So the plan for this, you can see the elbow right there. The plan for this is to have this coming up kind of off the elbow like that a little bit. So it'll basically be a straight shot into the wastegate or real close to that. The wastegate will have all the priority. And then I'm going to make one pipe that comes over here and then wise off into two small pipes that come out right there. To somewhat match over here, we got the 3-inch dump pipe off the turbo. So to try and take up about the same amount of space, I'm going to use two of the 1 7/8 pipes we got here. So this is all of our kit. This is all stainless. And we've got pretty much more than we should need. Looks like 2 straight sections, 2 180s, 2 45s, and 2 90s. So we should have plenty. So the first thing we're going to do is cut a straight section down. And we're going to make the actual section that mounts to the exhaust where the wastegate comes off. And we're going to start with that, get it all mounted up. And from there, we'll be able to figure out our routing for the dump pipe. To make it a little bit easier to visualize what we're doing, I got this kind of mocked up. This is just an intercooler piping, but it's the same size and same bend. So if you imagine this piece is in the car, this is where it comes off the engine. The turbo's sitting up here. This is the bend that we're targeting to mount the wastegate to right in here. So you can see kind of what we're trying to do. So it doesn't have to be exactly like this, but like anything kind of along this plane is going to have priority of exhaust flow to the wastegate. So this is listed as a 45-degree bend. When you put an angle finder on it, it's actually a 40. The one in the car actually looks like a shallower angle, like a 35 or so. So I've got the chop saw here set up for 32 degrees, and anything else we can just massage with the flap disc, which we're going to have to do anyway because this is a radius and that's going to cut it flat. And then we're going to get about this much pipe cut, and this is what we're going to be used to mounting the wastegate to. And once I'm happy with the beveled edges and everything so that it's a nice tight fit all the way around, there's preferably no gaps, and then we'll cut it out beforehand and then weld it on the bench, and then the wastegate mounting point is actually done. So I'm going to toss this in the saw and we'll get it cut. Alright, here's our cut. You can see that it's already fairly close. I think for the most part we can just take some meat off the top here to bring it in a little bit more, and then we'll be looking pretty good. So most of what we need to do is just bring this top in. it's kind of hard to hold it in one hand, but you can see that it's fitting pretty darn tight. But let's take it over to the car and check it there. Hopefully it fits as well on this. Oh yeah, that's not bad. So yeah, now I'll probably cut this down about halfway, weld it to the flange for that. We'll get this marked off and cut the hole in there, and then we can get that welded on, and then get the turbo kit bolted back on the motor for hopefully the last time. Alright, got the flange all welded on. Turned out pretty decent. There's a couple spots I fucked up, but it's alright. So now I can test it on here. You can see it'll be roughly like this. Kind of hard to hold it in place. But I've got it all marked off already. So I can start pulling the exhaust off, get it cut out, and get this flange tacked on it. Alright, got it all welded on and bolted up. Totally forgot to record it. Just got kind of in the zone. We can start making the dump pipe now. And to do that, when it comes to making exhaust systems, typically what I like to do is start at the end point, because you know where you're going to start. And for me, just the way I do things, it's easier to start at the end and work back than to try to start out here. And I don't know, I usually just mess up as far as things like this go when I start at the beginning and go to the end. So we're going to start out here and get this end piece made first, and then it'll be easy to connect the two. It's pretty much a straight shot. So to do that, I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to cut, I don't know, maybe 2 inches or so out of the middle here and kind of bring them together, if you can imagine that. And then once these are together, I'll cut the end off and we'll be able to weld a 90 on it. Obviously not like this, but kind of like that. It'll probably be closer to like that or so. And I might have to use both of these 180 sections because the kit came with 2, and you can see that this one side has the expanded joint there. And ideally, these are going to be on an angle kind of like that, and then we're going to slash cut the ends to match the body line. Same thing I did on the pipe over here. So we're going to try to replicate that on a smaller scale here with the 2 pipes, and hopefully it looks pretty neat. So you can see that they're not exactly the same up here, but they're close enough. You're not going to be able to see that once everything's in the car anyway. So I think that's good enough. Up here, there's because this one was cut closer to the pipe, this face is a little bit longer, so it doesn't line up perfectly. So I'm focused more on getting it lined up down here, because up here is going to get cut off anyway. I don't care about that. And then once it is cut off, you can see it'll be pretty easy to get that kind of however it needs to be. It's pretty close on that round section. So I'm going to get that welded together real quick, and then we'll start mocking it up in the car and making the pieces to connect it, and then we're basically done with the wastegate dump pipe. Making progress. But before I weld them together, I need to cut them to length, because it'll be much easier to cut them on the right angle and everything before they're welded together. So I've got it mocked up right now. You can see where it's sticking out right there. It'll be in a pretty easy way to get the angles and everything into the wastegate. And as tempted as I am to leave it like that, we're not going to do that. So I'm going to get these marked. I'm going to cut this one right there. This one right there. Does that look about right? No, it does not. That one there. That looks a lot better. And then we will be cutting them on an angle that way. There we go. Now I can take them over to the chop saw and get them cut. I've got everything mocked up now, and I think it's starting to look pretty good. So you can see the wastegate coming off it, and there's the pipe coming over. I do need to weld on some sort of hanger for it. That's a lot of weight just hanging out there. But yeah, there is our wastegate dump pipe. I've got those sticking out a little bit further so that I can trim them back and get them flush, because the angles aren't quite right. And I know if I don't do that down the road, it'll bug me forever. But I've got them lined up in the same spot as the other one. They're inside the marker light there. When you get down here, it's looking pretty good. You can see there, that one's in the marker light. See what I mean? In that light there. But all in all, I think we're looking good. So the only thing left to do now is pull it all off and finish weld it. And that's going to take a while. So I'll probably just cut to where it's done, and we can just admire the finished product. Alright, wastegate dump pipe is done. Got it all made up. Got it all welded. Turned out pretty good. Looks kind of like a motorcycle exhaust. Now we can get it thrown on the car. And just like that, it is on the car. I think it turned out pretty good. Helps take up some of the dead space here. Turbo kit is officially done. I'd say that the only things left that I want to do is weld a brace for the turbo, and probably a small one for the end of the pipe there, just because it's like 3 feet out. But aside from that, turbo kit's done. I thought about doing a bunch of pie cuts on that, because pie cuts look really good, but my goodness, do they take so long that I'd probably still be cutting and trying to piece it together. So I think all in all, the turbo kit on this turned out super good. You can see it coming over here, goes under the transmission, right by the starter. And this one comes down, goes under the frame, up to the turbo. Heck yeah, I'm really happy with how it turned out. One more thing off the list. So, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing, clicking that bell, checking out the merch. First link in the description below. If you guys need anything from Snake Eater Performance, use code Snydertron for 10% off your order. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.